Dragon Emperor Sun Chapter 201 to Chapter 210. At first, they all thought that Wang Hanan and David were in a relationship between men and women, but no one thought that David would be a boyfriend and girlfriend with the chairman of the company. But at this time, Wang Hanan lowered his head slightly, and tears kept rolling in his eyes. David's eyes swept over everyone in the sales department, so they all lowered their heads and dared not look directly into David's eyes. Then Kui Ziwen buried his head very low, wishing he could find a hole to burrow into. Kui Ziwen, do you think it's appropriate for me to sit in this position? You seem to be kicking me out just now. David looked at Kui Ziwen and asked with a playful expression. Kui Ziwen was shocked. Suitable, this is the position prepared for Chen Dong. But I don't think it's appropriate for you to sit as a sales manager. As soon as David's voice fell, Kui Ziwen hurriedly apologized to David with a sad face. Chen Dong, it's me who sees people low, and I don't know Taishan, so please forgive me this time. I work in the company like this. Over the years, I finally managed to get the position of manager. Spare you. David smiled coldly. When you fired me just now, why didn't you think about letting me go? Kui Ziwen's body trembled more and more, and he couldn't say a word. I announce that you, the sales manager, have been fired. From today, you are no longer an employee of the company. David said loudly. Chen Dong, don't, Kui Ziwen shouted like crazy, then looked at Sonia. Sonia, please help me, I don't want to be fired. Sonia looked at Kui Ziwen like that, she could only bite her lip and said to David, David, can you? But before Sonia finished speaking, David waved his hand and said, I'll show you something first. If you've finished reading it, and you still want to intercede for Kui Ziwen, I can promise you. As David spoke, he turned on the slide projector in the conference room. Everyone stared at the white walls, wondering what David wanted to see for Sun Xiaomeng. However, when he turned on the slide projector, pictures of Kui Ziwen following other girls appeared, including some explicit chat records, which made Sun Xiaomeng froze for a moment. Kui Ziwen looked at himself in the picture, and was dumbfounded for a while, and then he wanted to smash the slide projector like crazy. This is all fake. David kicked Kui Ziwen down, and then stepped on him. The slide projector was still playing. In the end, there was a picture of Kui Ziwen following Wang Lanlan making out. This time, Sun Xiaomeng seemed to be hit hard and almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Wang Hanan quickly supported her. Wang Lanlan looked at herself on the screen. No matter how scheming she was, her face was blushing at this time. Damn it, this is too shameless. I always thought Wang Lanlan and Sun Xiaomeng were good best friends, but I didn't expect Wang Lanlan to be such a shameless person. Knowing people and faces but not hearts, no wonder Wang Lanlan has been with Sun Xiaomeng all the time. It turned out to be another plan. Bah, I hate this kind of person the most, shameless. Everyone was shocked, and then they all accused Wang Lanlan. Wang Lanlan felt everyone's accusations and scolding, and the whole person was about to collapse. After finishing playing, David turned off the slide projector, looked at Sun Xiaomeng and said, Do you still want to intercede for this Kui Ziwen? As I said, this Kui Ziwen is not suitable for you. Sun Xiaomeng stood dumbfounded, and after a while, anger burst out in his eyes, and walked quickly to Wang Lanlan. Xiaomeng, listen to my explanation. It was Kui Ziwen who seduced me, he seduced me, and he also used money to buy me. Wang Lanlan strongly pushed the responsibility to Kui Ziwen. Wang Lanlan, you are shameless, you seduced me, you want me to help you in the company, pretend to drink too much, let me help you back to your room, and then you just take off my clothes, tch. Kui Ziwen was stepped on by David, so he could only scold Wang Lanlan desperately. Seeing this, David directly raised his foot, Kui Ziwen jumped up, and rushed towards Wang Lanlan. A fierce slap hit Wang Lanlan in the face. Wang Lanlin covered her face and stared at Kui Ziwen. Kui Ziwen, you are a fucking scumbag. You told me that you only love me, and you also like her money when you follow Sun Xiaomeng. I didn't expect you to follow so many. A woman has an affair. Not to be outdone, Wang Lanlin fought with Kui Ziwen. Soon, the two were beaten in ragged clothes, and Kui Ziwen's face was covered in blood. Security, kick these two out for me. Sonia looked at the two of them like that, and said with annoyance. Several security guards rushed in, ready to drive away Kui Ziwen and Wang Lanlin. Xiaomeng, I was wrong, please help me, help me. Kui Ziwen didn't want to leave, and hugged Sun Xiaomen's leg tightly. Sun Xiaomeng looked at Kui Ziwen in disgust and kicked Kui Ziwen away with one kick. Kui Ziwen wanted to rush over, but was dragged away by the security guard. Why, I'm not convinced. Kui Ziwen roared, but no one took pity on him. Both Kui Ziwen and Wang Lanlin were dragged away, they were all fired, and everyone else in the sales department was in danger. After all, they all mocked David in order to curry favor with Kui Ziwen. David glanced at everyone, and then said, now the company still lacks a general manager. This position will be handed over to Sun Xiaomeng. As for the position of sales manager, let Han In take it. I hope you two can work hard, give back to the company. After David finished speaking, everyone in the sales department applauded. Sun Xiaomeng was immediately stunned. She thought that even if David didn't blame her or fire her, she wouldn't be able to reuse her. After all, her attitude towards David was not good at first. Unexpectedly, David gave himself the position of general manager, which made Sun Xiaomeng unable to believe it. Xiaomeng, thank you. Chen Dong quickly. Someone reminded Sun Xiaomeng. Only then did Sun Xiaomeng react, and hurriedly said to David, no, Chen Dong, thank you, I will definitely work hard. After Sun Xiaomeng finished speaking, she pulled Wang Hanin next to her. Hanin, thank you. Chen Dong. Wang Hanin looked at David blankly, and said, thank you, Director Chen. David looked at Wang Hanin's expression, and actually felt a little distressed, but feelings cannot be forced. The other people's positions remain the same, let's all go back to work. After David finished speaking, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. David did not blame them, which made these people in the sales department feel grateful to David. Everyone left, looking at Wang Hanin's back. David wanted to catch up and explain, but Sonia was on the side, and David didn't move. Go, it's better to say something clearly, I'm leaving too. After Sonia finished speaking, she got up and left. David caught up with Wang Hanin and called her aside. Hanin, I actually treated you as a younger sister from the beginning. I didn't mean to deceive you, but my parents misunderstood Sonia, so I didn't say anything. David didn't mean to hide it. Brother David, you don't need to explain, it's all my own wishful thinking. You are fine now, and I'm young, so I can definitely find a suitable boyfriend. Wang Hanin tried her best to squeeze out a smile. Well, I'm sure you can find it. David nodded. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. It doesn't make much sense for David to be the chairman. He always wants to find an opportunity to explain Sonia's affairs with his parents. If you can get your parents to agree to move to Pine Bay, it would be best. David can speed up his cultivation. There is no spiritual energy here, and there is no way to cultivate. But seeing his parents and Wang Hanin's mother Wang Chongfeng happily discussing matters between him and Wang Hanin, David didn't know how to speak. But on this day David got off work at noon, but Chen Baoqiu called David. It is said that the Wang Hanin family has moved away. When David heard this, he was shocked, and hurriedly drove home and saw that the door of Wang Hanin's house was locked. And in Chen Baoqiu's hand is still holding a letter. David, this is Hanin's letter to you. Chen Baoqiu gave the letter to David. David opened the letter and read it. It turned out that Wang Hanin didn't want to live in this city anymore, so she took her mother to another city to join her relatives, because she couldn't face David every day. Moreover, Wang Hanan also explained to David's parents in the letter, and made it clear about David's following Sonia. After reading the letter, David clenched his fist tightly. He didn't want to hurt Wang Hanan. Maybe this was the best result. If he faced it every day, Wang Hanan would suffer even more. Hey, Hanan is a miserable child, it's just that the two of you have no fate. Barbara sighed, obviously she knew the content of the letter. David, you kid, don't tell us. If you and Sonia are really friends, my mother and I have no objection, no matter what their identity is, as long as they are serious. We are afraid that you will be deceived. Now, in the evening, when you call Sonia home for dinner, your mother and I apologize to them. They lent us a house, and we misunderstood them. Chen Baoqiu said to David. Yes, it's all my fault that your dad and I believed in other people's words. They all lent us such a good house, so can it still lie to you? Now that I have misunderstood others, it's not good, you must call Sonia. Come home, I'll follow Sonia and apologize. A girl so rich doesn't dislike our family, and we even misunderstand their motives. Barbara also followed David with a face full of shame. Well, I'll call her home in the evening. David nodded. In the evening, Sonia happily went to David's house and brought a lot of gifts. Chen Baoqiu and Barbara prepared a sumptuous dinner. Uncle, Auntie, you are getting older and older. I think you should move to Pine Bay. After all, the air there is good and the environment is good. Sonia said to Chen Baoqiu and Barbara at the dining table. Chen Baoqiu didn't speak. Barbara said, Sonia, we will listen to whatever you say. In the future, your uncle and I will only listen to you, and no one will listen. Barbara still feels guilty for listening to strangers and misunderstanding Sonia. Okay, then move in tomorrow, Sonia said happily. Seeing that his parents agreed to move to Pine Bay, David felt relieved. He was finally able to cultivate well. He had been delayed for a long time. Early the next morning, David took his parents and moved back to Pine Bay. Feeling the aura on the top of Pine Bay, David could not wait to sit down and practice right away. At noon, Sonia called David, saying that Gu Wenchen had something to do with David, which seemed to be a matter of Lingbai. After David received the call, he was very excited. As long as he found the spirit pen, his mother's eyes could be cured. David rushed to Sue's house non-stop, just as Lin Tianhe was looking for him. The two went to Sue's house together. Arriving at Sue's house, David hurriedly asked after seeing Gu Wenchen, Ancient, is it true that the Taoist priest is back? Gu Wenchen nodded, yes, the true master is back. Then trouble Gu, hurry up and take me there. David was a little impatient. Mr. Chen, it is true that the Taoist priest is back, but... Gu Wenchen's face is embarrassed. Ancient, just say something straight, if you want money, I can get it together. David said. Ancient, how much does it cost? You can just say it. The spirit pen and cinnabar are for Auntie's eyes. You must use the spirit pen and cinnabar. Sonia said at this time. She knew what David did with these two things. When David gave her the medicine list, it was also there, and Sonia really looked for it carefully, and even offered a reward, but this kind of thing is rare and hard to come by. Gu Wenchen shook his head, Mr. Chen, Miss Su, the Daoist master is not asking for money. For those who have entered the Dao, money is something outside the body, but the Daoist master has a daughter and is now seriously ill. He could not find a cure after searching all the famous doctors, so he hopes to use the spirit pen and cinnabar to ask Mr. Chen to help her daughter cure. When David heard it, he immediately understood that it should be Gu Wenchen and Daoist master Bugzu who said about his excellent medical skills, so Daoist Bugzu proposed this condition. There is a way to heal. Ancient, what's wrong with the daughter of the wise man? David asked. I don't know very well, but it's true to hear that her daughter has been cold and sick since she was a child, and her body is like falling into an ice cave. She sleeps with a lot of bedding every day, but it doesn't help for many years. The place is useless. This time I went a long way to seek medical treatment, but I came back without success. It's true that the Taoist priest is also for his daughter. He once looked for a doctor in the Taoist sect, and he was willing to give charity. He wanted to accumulate merits for himself and make his daughter better, but after so many years, it seems that there is no effect. Gu Wenchen explained. The body is like falling into an ice cave. The corner of David's mouth raised slightly, he understood something, and said to Gu Wenchen, "Ancient, please take us there, I can see the illness of the daughter of the Daoist." David didn't want to wait, he had to get the spirit pen and cinnabar as soon as possible so that his mother's eyes could be cured. "Okay, let's go now." Gu Wenchen nodded. The two cars set off from the Regal Hotel and went straight to Limingguan. Liming sect is located on Liming Mountain. Liming Mountain is the largest mountain in the entire Jiangbei, and the mountain is high and dense with dense forests. The mountain built a thundering view. There is only a winding mountain road on the Liming sect, and it is not easy to walk, but because the Thunder sect is famous, a large number of tourists come to pray for blessings every day. "Mr. Chen, we can only go up." At the foot of Liming Mountain, Gu Wenchen said. "Go." David nodded. In fact, David knew about this view of thunder, but he never visited it once. Tang Long watched the car from below. David, Gu Wenchen, Lin Tianhu, and Reuben's father and daughter climbed up Liming Mountain. With David around, Gu Wenchen's safety is naturally not a problem, so Tang Long doesn't have to protect himself. Sonia looked at the green trees and the mountain road. She was so excited that she kept running and stopping, sometimes shouting a few times. "Sonia, if you go on like this, if you can't reach the top of the mountain, you will probably get tired and lie down." Reuben warned Sonia. "At the beginning of climbing the mountain, you are excited and not tired, but you will not be able to climb later, so save your physical strength from the beginning." "I'm fine." Sonia didn't listen at all, and Reuben had no choice. It is afternoon now. Logically speaking, there are more tourists going down the mountain than those who go up the mountain, but David and the others came along and saw many tourists rushing towards the mountain. "Let's hurry up, today I heard that Limingguan has invited the worthy Daoist brother Wu Vi Daoist. That is the reincarnation of an immortal. The skill is very powerful. We have to hurry up and let Wu Vi Daoist draw us a lot. I heard that Taoist Wu Vi came here once last year, and only 10 people were selected to draw lots for divination, and it was very effective. There was a couple who had been married for more than 10 years and had no children." "Fat boy! What is this? I heard that there is a person who has been paralyzed for a lifetime, and has been favored by Daoist Wu Vi. Today we have caught up with us, but we have to go quickly. I heard that Taoist Wu Vi came this time to treat the daughter of the Taoist leader, and he also brought a treasure." Tourists on the mountain road talked a lot, and the speed of climbing the mountain also accelerated a bit. David listened to the comments of the tourists, and he understood why these people were all rushing to the top of the mountain in the afternoon. "Mr. Chen, this Daoist Wu Vi is the senior brother of the Daoist who is not false. He used to be the watcher of this thunder view. Later, after it was passed on to the Daoist who is not false, the Daoist Wu Vi went to travel. He came back once last year, and his shot was not false. The Dao Kang's daughter was treated, but it didn't work, and then she left, and this time she came back, it should be for the true Daoist's daughter." Gu Wenchen followed David to explain. "Ah, what should we do? Then let's go quickly, but we can't let the Wu Vi Daoist cure the disease first. In that case, we won't be able to get the spirit pen and cinnabar." When Sonia heard this, she hurriedly urged. When everyone heard it, they also felt that there was some truth, so they accelerated their pace. Only David still had a calm expression on his face, and said with a slight smile, "Don't worry, that Taoist Wu Vi can't cure it. How do you know he won't be cured? Sonia looked at David strangely and asked. I said if he can't be cured, he will definitely be cured, just wait and see. David smiled and did not explain to Sonia. After the group reached the middle of the mountain, Sonia's pace slowed down significantly, and she was sweating and panting. No way, I'm going to rest for a while, I really can't walk. Sonia sat on the big rock beside her. What did I say about you at first? You just don't listen, are you honest now? Reuben reprimanded Sonia. But no matter what Reuben said, Sonia just couldn't walk. Gu, you all go first, I will accompany Sonia at the back, we will catch up in a while. David saw that Sonia really couldn't walk, but he couldn't stay and wait for her, so he said to Gu Wenchen. All right, I'll go up first and make arrangements in advance, and tell the truthful deist. Gu Wenchen nodded. Reuben glanced at Sonia, smiled slightly recently, and then said to David, Mr. Chen, I will hand over Sonia to you. After speaking, several people continued to climb up, while David sat next to Sonia. I can't walk anymore, why don't you carry me? Sonia blinked her eyes and smiled. I don't carry it, you still have strength. David shook his head. No, I really don't have the strength. Sonia even followed David in a coquettish manner. David looked at Sonia like that, and his heart throbbed, and I have to say, Sonia is really beautiful. Although his temper is a bit explosive at times, he is still very kind. David grabbed Sonia's hand, Sonia shrank in fright, but David held it tightly, and Sonia had no way to break free. Sonia's face suddenly turned red, she bit her lip tightly, not daring to look at David. David grabbed Sonia's hand, and waves of warmth flowed directly into Sonia's body along David's hand. What do you want to do? There are too many people here. Sonia lowered her head, her voice was like a mosquito, and you couldn't hear it if you didn't listen carefully. What did you say? David asked. I said don't be here, there are too many people, let's go to the woods. Sonia's head was lowered and her voice was even lower. What are you going to do in the woods? David let go of Sonia, let's go quickly, you won't be able to catch up in a while. Sonia was stunned, looked up at David, and found that David was looking at him with a smirk. I beat you to death. Sonia glared and chased after David. After running 2 steps, Sonia suddenly found that her body didn't seem to be so tired, and her legs didn't hurt anymore, just like when she just climbed the mountain for a while. What are you doing? Hurry up! David saw Sonia stunned, so he shouted. Oh! Sonia chased after David. Soon, the two of them caught up with Gu Wenchen and the others. Seeing David and Sonia chasing so quickly, they were a little strange. Sonia, aren't you too tired to walk? Reuben didn't look tired when he saw Sonia's state. I don't know what's going on, anyway, I'm not tired after a while, I feel very relaxed. Sonia also said with a puzzled face. As soon as Sonia finished speaking, everyone turned their attention to David. They could guess that it must be David's reason. Let's go quickly, it will be dark in a while. After David finished speaking, he quickened his pace. About an hour later, a few people finally reached the top of the mountain. At this time, the top of the mountain was full of people. Because there were so many people, the Taoist sect was closed, and everyone was waiting outside the Taoist sect. David and the others tried their best to get to the front, and 2 Taoist boys guarded the door of the Taoist sect and prevented people from entering. Don't crowd, today's Taoist sect is not allowed to enter. A Taoist boy stopped David and they said. This little master, I am your true friend, please report that Horrendal Gu Wenchen is here. Gu Wenchen followed Xiao Daotong with a smile on his face. Our master said that no one can come in. Our uncle is treating the younger sister, so please don't disturb me. Xiao Daotong waved his hand and looked arrogant. Gu Wenchen didn't seem to be angry, he took out some money from his pocket and secretly stuffed it into Xiao Daotong's hands. "Little master, I also brought someone over to see your little sister. Your master knows, you just need to report. Just do it." Xiao Daotong looked at the money in his hand, his face instantly filled with a smile. He put the money in his pocket and said, "So it's the master's friend, you guys wait here first, I'll report it right away." The little Taoist boy ran into the Taoist sect. Gu Wenchen smiled helplessly. There is a saying that the king of H3LL is easy to provoke, and the little devil is difficult to deal with, and it is like this now. This kind of Taoist sect, even if it is practiced for 100 years, it will not be able to cultivate the merits to heal his daughter. David smiled coldly. The faces of several people are helpless. There is no way. The current society is like this, it has become very utilitarian, whether it is a Taoist sect or a sect, whichever is not for making money, it is not so much a Taoist sect, but a tourist attraction. Soon, Xiao Daotong ran out and respectfully said to Gu Wenchen, "Sir, our master let you in." Gu Wenchen nodded and led David and the others into the Taoist sect. The Taoist sect is filled with smoke, and there are many incense sticks. These incense sticks are bought by tourists and then lit and plugged to pray for good fortune. "Ancient, if you have lost your way, forgive your sins and forgive your sins." Just walked into the Taoist sect, an old Taoist wearing a Taoist robe and a beard greeted him. "This person is a true Taoist." "It's true," the Daoist is polite. Gu cupped his hands, and then pointed at David. "This is Mr. Chen, the one who needs the spirit pen and cinnabar. I brought it here specially for the maid to take a look at." The Daoist true master glanced at David, his brows were obviously slightly wrinkled, but he quickly stretched out and smiled slightly. No hurry, let's go to the house to have a cup of tea, my senior brother is watching the little girl inside." Daoist master was not false and invited Gu Wenchen and the others to the Taoist sect, but as soon as he walked to the entrance of the main hall, David felt a chill coming. In this hot weather, this chill actually made David fight a cold war. "Mr. Chen, what's the matter?" Gu Wenchen saw that David's face was a little wrong, so he asked aloud. "Oh, it's fine." David smiled and shook his head. Daoist true master looked at David and smiled disdainfully. "Did you feel that when you entered the main hall, it suddenly became cooler? This is because there is an ancient well behind our Taoist sect, and the well water is piercing all the year round. We lead the well water out, surrounding the Taoist sect, the whole Taoist sect becomes cool and pleasant." David just smiled silently and didn't say anything. The crowd followed the Daoist true master through the hall, to a small courtyard at the back, and after opening one of the rooms, David suddenly felt the chill, much stronger than the chill just now. But looking at Gu Wenchen and the others, they didn't seem to notice anything unusual. At this time, in the room, a girl with delicate facial features was lying on the bed, wrapped in a thick cup. Her face was pale, and the whiteness was like the weather was cold, and there was a layer of frost on her face. In front of the girl's bed, an old man with yuruhi in his hand would nod yuruhi on the girl's forehead from time to time, and then recited something. "This is my senior brother Wu Vai Taoist. He said that my daughter is cold, and she needs to get rid of the cold air. I tried it once last year, but it failed. This year, my senior brother found a warm jade made. The jade ruhi is just enough to absorb the cold aura of my daughter." The wise man explained in a low voice. The so-called warm jade is the jade that has been burned in extreme heat or the fire of the heart of the earth. This kind of warm jade remains warm all year round. Even if the stone is put in the refrigerator, after taking it out, it does not take half an hour. It's amazing to be able to restore the original temperature. This kind of stone is extremely rare, and it can be made into a jade ruhi with warm jade. It can be seen that this stone is not small, it is quite rare. Hearing what the Daoist said, Gu Wenchen and the others looked at the Wu Vai Daoist curiously, while the Wu Vai Daoist had a cold expression on his face, with disdain in his eyes, and they didn't even look at Gu Wenchen and the others. In the hands of Taoist Wu Vai Urui, every time he tapped the girl's forehead, he could see a trace of cold air being absorbed by Urui. After clicking for more than a dozen times, Daoist Wu Vai stopped and put Urui aside. "Senior brother, are you almost healed?" True Daoist asked the Daoist Wu Vai with anticipation. Daoist Wu Vai shook his head. "How can it be so easy? Xiru's body has been cold for a long time, and there is still a lot, so take it slow. Now Urui has lost her temperature and needs to rest for a while." "Oh." The righteous nodded, and then asked, "How long will it take to completely absorb the cold energy from Xiaoru's body?" Daoist Wu Vai frowned slightly, and said with a little thought, "At least 3 days, as many as half a month." After listening to the truth, he stopped talking, with a bit of worry on his face. Not to mention half a month, just absorb the cold air at this speed, it is impossible to absorb it in a lifetime, and this young lady can't live for 3 days at most. David said slowly. As soon as David's words landed, Daoist Wu Vai frowned and looked at David coldly. "Junior brother, where is this ignorant child, talking nonsense again?" "Senior brother, this is an ancient invitation to treat the little girl. You also know that our Taoist sect does not miss the ancient incense money." The truthful Daoist hurriedly explained. "Humph, stinking, are you questioning me? Let them get out of here." Daoist Wu Vai was very angry at David's questioning. This, true Daoist suddenly looked embarrassed. After all, David was found by Gu Wenchen, and he and Gu Wenchen had a very close relationship. It would be inappropriate to drive him away. "What? Do you really believe that this brat with no hair can heal your daughter? If that's the case, then I'll leave." Daoist Wu Vai picks up Urui and prepares to leave. "Senior brother, don't be angry." Daoist Master Wu Vai stopped Daoist Wu Vai, and then looked at Gu Wenchen with an embarrassed expression. "Gu Wenchen, it's better to take your people out for the time being. Senior brother does not want anyone to disturb you when you are treating your illness." Gu Wenchen also looked at David with some embarrassment. He trusted David, but looking at it like this, it was true that the Taoist priest did not trust him. "Master Dao, your daughter is a body of ice crystals. This system likes cold energy. If you use it, you will definitely be able to strengthen your body and even stay young forever, but no one has taught her the art of refining, so that the Taoist sect the yin and cold energy inside her accumulated more and more, and it became what it is now. Although that Jade Rui is a treasure, it can absorb the cold energy, but with this strength, I'm afraid it can't keep up with the speed at which the girl can absorb the cold energy. Coupled with the ancient well in the Taoist sect, the cold energy is extremely high. It's heavy, so your daughter can't last 3 days." David followed the truthful Taoist priest and explained. If it wasn't for the spirit pen and cinnabar, David wouldn't explain this to him. It's true that the Taoist priest is a little stupid. Although he doesn't understand it, listening to David's words makes some sense. "What nonsense, what kind of ice crystal body is still young forever, why don't you say immortality? It's just nonsense. I have been practicing Taoism for decades, and I have never heard of an ice crystal body." Daoist Wu Vai looked at David with disdain and said coldly. "You don't know, that's your ignorance. Although your Jade Rui is a treasure, but you dare to use it, this Jade Rui will shatter." David said expressionlessly. Although this Jade Rui is made by Wen Yu and can absorb the cold energy of Dao Kang's daughter is not ordinary. It can make David feel the cold energy. It can be seen that the energy of this cold energy big. A Jade Rui made by a warm jade cannot withstand such a cold air at all, so it will definitely break. Nonsense, even in an extremely cold place, this Jade Rui can still be as warm as ever. How could it possibly break? Hugh is talking nonsense, get out of here, we don't welcome you in Lei Mingguan. Daoist Wu Vai was full of anger. David dared to say that he was ignorant. Daoist Wu Vai was going to die of anger. To know who saw him was disrespectful. "Humph, if it wasn't for the spirit pen and cinnabar, even if I was kowtowing and begging me, I wouldn't necessarily shoot. David snorted coldly. Arrogant child, looking for a fight. Taoist Wu Wei was furious, and with a flick of the dust in his hand, a gust of wind came and went straight to David. Brother, don't! The true master was shocked and hurried to stop it. As for Gu Wenchen and the others, none of them would have thought that the Taoist Wu Wei actually said that he would do it, and they were stunned to the side. Bold! Lin Tianhu, who was beside him, rushed out with a vigorous stride, ready to attack the Taoist Wu Wei. David is the master of the dragon sect, and Lin Tianhu is his subordinate. How could he watch others casually attack David? David held Lin Tianhu, you are not his opponent. The dust of the Taoist Wu Wei, the wind whistled with a casual wave. David knew that Lin Tianhu was not an opponent of this old Tao. Senior brother, don't be angry yet, there are many people outside waiting to see you. If you hit someone and spread it out, wouldn't your reputation be completely ruined? Daoist true master grabbed the whisk and persuaded Daoist Wu Wei. Hearing what the Daoist said, the Wu Wei Taoist took back the whisk and snorted coldly, quickly drive them away, so that I won't be bothered. Guo, you guys should go out. Regarding the spirit pen and cinnabar, when my daughter finishes her illness, I will send someone to send it. The true Daoist said to Gu Wenchen with some embarrassment. Gu Wenchen looked at David and asked, Mr. Chen, why don't we leave? Since the Daoist master has promised to give Lingbai and cinnabar, it is meaningless for them to stay. David shook his head, since I'm here, I can't watch a fresh life disappear in front of me. David intends to save the life of the Daoist priest's daughter. This can be regarded as the good fortune of the Taoist priest. After all, the Taoist priest can say that he gave away the spirit pen and cinnabar, which proves that this person is not bad. Boy, are you finished yet? Daoist Wu Wei frowned and looked at David viciously. Right now, Daoist master is full of embarrassment, and he doesn't know what to do. Don't rely on the old to sell the old, you can tell if I'm telling the truth or not. David smiled coldly. How to try? Daoist Wu Wei was stunned. You only need to use your Yu Ruyi to absorb a few cold breaths. If it breaks, it will prove what I said. If it doesn't break, I will get out of here immediately. David pointed to Na Yu Ruyi and said. Okay, I will definitely convince you. Daoist Wu Wei said, picked up Yu Ruyi, muttered something in his mouth, and gently touched the forehead of Dao Kang's daughter. Every time you touch it, you can see a cold air being sucked into Yu Ruyi. A flash of disdain and contempt flashed in Taoist Wu Wei's eyes, and he looked at David coldly, boy, it's time to get out of here? My Yu Ruyi is all right. Daoist Wu Wei was talking, and when Yu Ruyi touched the forehead of Daoist Master Wu Wei again, a crisp sound suddenly came out, as if something had broken. This time, everyone's eyes widened and they held their breath. The Taoist Wu Wei trembled, and hurriedly took Yu Ruyi to examine it carefully. Sure enough, there was a slight crack on Yu Ruyi's body, which made Taoist Wu Wei feel bad. My Yu Ruyi. Daoist Wu Wei gently stroked Yu Ruyi like a child, but just when he touched it, Yu Ruyi shattered into several pieces and fell to the ground. Broken, really broken. Sonia grabbed David's arm excitedly and jumped up. Yu Ruyi was shattered, proving that what David said was right. It was considered a slap in the face of the Wu Wei Daoist. Daoist Wu Wei glared at Sonia, his beloved treasure was broken, and he was sad, but Sonia even shouted happily, how could Daoist Wu Wei not be angry? Seeing Daoist Wu Wei's eyes, Sonia closed her mouth, but she still couldn't hide the excitement on her face. Now you should believe it, right? Your Yu Ruyi can't stand this gloomy aura. If it weren't for the fact that Daoist's daughter is a body of ice crystals, she would not be able to live in terror at all. David said lightly. Daoist Wu Wei was a little unconvinced, but he didn't know how to refute it, so he could only snort coldly, this was guessed by your kid, but I want to see what you use to cure this coldness. I don't need anything, I can suck out the cold air from Dao Kang's daughter's body, and let her use the cold air for her own use. David said calmly. Okay, come here, I'm going to watch you, how do you suck out the cold air? Daoist Wu Wei stepped aside and said with a face full of dissatisfaction. I'm treating the disease, and you can't watch it, because I'm going to undress her, it's inconvenient for you to be here. As soon as David finished speaking, Daoist Wu Wei immediately jumped up like a rat whose tail had been stepped on. Well, you daring thief, it turns out that you came to take advantage of my niece. Where did you come to treat the disease? You don't know how men and women give and receive it. Don't you, K.S.S.? My niece is only 18 years old, and you have to undress her. Daoist Wu Wei roared, and the worthy Daoist also frowned. His daughter was not married yet. If he took off his clothes and was seen by a man and spread it out, his reputation would be too bad. Master Su is not sure what David will do. Gu Wenchen and Reuben also looked at David strangely. Sonia glared directly at David and said, David, do you think that the little girl is young and want to take advantage of others? David looked at everyone helplessly, and found that everyone was looking at him with strange eyes, so he could only explain, I didn't say to take off, but the coat must be taken off. Even if the coat is taken off, these men are in the house. It's not suitable here, but if you're afraid of me messing around, you can stay and watch me. Hearing what David said, Daoist Master was relieved a lot. His clothes were not completely stripped off, and he was accompanied by someone, so David would not be able to mess around. Senior brother, then let's go out and wait for a while, and we'll see the situation later. The virtuous Daoist said to the Wu Wei Daoist. Humph, if he can't be cured, I can't spare him today. Taoist Wu Wei snorted coldly, flicked the dust, and was ready to go out. But at this moment, a Taoist boy hurried in. Master, it's not good, someone insists on breaking in, we can't stop it. Da Tong was in a cold sweat, and there were clear slap prints on his face, which should have just been beaten. Who is so bold? When the Taoist priest heard it, he was instantly furious and rushed out. But as soon as he ran out, he was greeted by a young man. The young man was wearing a long gown with a gossip pattern on his chest. His long hair was coiled up, just like a Taoist dress. Behind the young man, there were two Taoist boys. These two Taoist boys were much more miserable than the Taoist boys who reported the news. Their noses were blue and their faces were swollen, and their eyes could not be opened. Look! Uncle is not false, I entered Laming Guan, these little junior brothers actually stopped me, what does this mean? The young man looked at the truth and asked with a playful look. Liao Fei, I'm not your uncle. Your master betrayed his master. He is no longer my senior brother, and I am not your uncle. Don't get close to me. You come to my Taoist sect and beat my Taoist boy. What do you want to do? The Daoist master asked angrily. Master Shishu, I'm here to treat the younger sister. How can you say that to me? I heard that the younger sister was suffering from the extreme cold, and I couldn't bear it, so I ran here on purpose. Liao Fei was not angry, but smiled playfully. Xiru doesn't have to be treated by you, get out of here immediately, go back and tell your master, I will clear the door sooner or later. At this time, Taoist Wu Wei stepped forward and shouted fiercely at Liao Fei.